Hello.
You're so
Good
strange.
afternoon and welcome to Move Therapies video. I'm Dale Fuhr
And I'm Leanne Scott.
and today we're going to talk about flexibility again. I'm
Again.
going to interview Leanne here about her previous video a little bit and just talk a bit about what things she learned. So Leanne, tell us about flexibility.
Well, basically, I want to touch on, so yes, he mentioned that I did a video on flexibility, and if you want to watch it,
We'll put the link below.
And we got a lot of comments. And so that's what I wanted to more touch on today is what I learned from the comments of people. I think one of the biggest things I got from it is a lot of people think of flexibility as something that they need to do to maintain whatever it is they're doing. So I have a brother, it's a perfect story. My brother is a little bit older than I am, but he's a pretty wildly good athlete, especially, I hate saying this, but especially considering his age.
Yeah, he's like so old.
He's so old. He's not that old, but he does a lot of things that a lot of people his age don't do. He's a pretty big athlete.
No, he's only like 60.
He's 10 years older than us, so he's 62, but he plays
young.
Soccer with like 30-year-olds. Like he's very athletic, what people would consider very athletic. And he said to me that I talked to him about stretching, and he said, well, I do a few little stretches, and I have to do them, Leanne, at the beginning of the day before I go out skiing, or I pay for it at the end of the day. Don't feel it so much during the skiing, but afterwards I'm like right out. And I said, that's interesting. Have you always been like that? And he said, no, that was something that is sort of new. When I was younger, I used to be able to forget about stretching and whatever. But now I find that it's the only thing that helps. It's a very key component of maintaining my ability to keep going on these things. But I sort of quizzed him and I said, well, what's next then? Like 5 years from now, whatever that is are you going to have to up that game? That kind of thing. I said, isn't there something that maybe you could do that could not only maintain, but keep you improving?
Because that was really the dream I always thought of any of the stretching that I was doing or whatever. And I think probably the stretching you were doing
100%.
was that it wasn't just about, I wasn't sold on just maintenance. I was sold on improvement.
Absolutely. If I wanted, as a dancer, if everybody was kicking here, I wanted to kick here, so it was for sure about improvement. And why shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't we be able to do something that improves us? So was something that I learned from the first video, is that I was speaking really from improving and maintaining as well, but more improving. And a lot of people's answers was just like, no, it's something I do for maintenance.
If I don't do this, then I'll regress. But it wasn't, if I do this, I improve.
Yes, which is interesting because it's a lot of time and energy and effort to put into something that is possibly just maintaining us. But the biggest thing that I found out from the comments was that a lot of people were concerned about deep down in hidden little crevices of their body. They actually were a little concerned about their stretching routine. And so we sort of thought, maybe let's jump on and talk about, well, I am more flexible now at 51 than I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, and even pre-injury.
And pre-injury, yes, yeah, before I really hurt myself. I am more flexible now than I have ever been in my life. And that's saying a lot because I was very flexible because I was a dancer. So people say, well, that's like crazy. How can you do that? And I say, because there's a couple reasons. And here they are. Number one, the biggest change probably in my mindset was, if I am stretching now, not stretching, let me rephrase that. If I am moving now and I feel pain, I stop. And I know a lot of people consider stretching equals pain. Not necessarily, but that's kind of it's sort of the drive a lot of times behind stretching is you go and then you go and you go and you go. Like you go further and you don't listen.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, that
For myself, it was definitely, it didn't start out that I was going for pain, but then once you sort of like figured out that unless you were feeling something,
Unless it was burning, unless,
then
yeah.
then that became the goal. It wasn't necessarily to like how am I feeling while I'm doing this? I'm shooting to really feel something.
Yeah, that was the goal. Yeah. So now I don't. The moment I feel even remote comfortableness coming on, I actually stop. And that has actually helped me improve. And there's reasons why, and that's something that you would come in with. If you came to Move Therapies, you would learn about. But it's actually pretty key. So I'm throwing it out there. Feel free to try. If you feel burning, tingling, numbness, stop in your stretching. Please, yeah, begging of you, please. Secondly, I think a lot more about, instead of just muscles, because that's all it was ever talked to me about as a dancer, was strength and stretch. If no matter what issue I had or what achievement I wanted to do, the answer was always a muscular answer: strength or stretch it. I now think about skeleton and the placement of where I'm putting my skeleton and my muscles now versus just a muscular. We have a skeletal system.
We have a skeleton.
Oh, we have a skeleton.
We have a skeleton.
Who has a lovely superhero cape on right now.
But
we have a huge skeleton, and it's a huge system, and it does so much for us, and we don't talk about it at all. And so anyway, I think of not just muscles. I don't push the muscle or whatever. I think about muscles and skeleton and where I place them, and that helps me become more flexible. It takes my movement in a longer position when I think of skeletal than when I just think of muscles.
Yeah, because the skeleton is designed to hold us upright. Mm-hmm. It's the structure of our body.
And to move us through space.
And if we don't know how to use our skeleton appropriately, especially considering all the stuff we've been told about improving our muscles and stuff like this. Right. There's nothing about like, hey, here's how to use your skeleton kind of stuff. Mm-hmm.
It's just limiting.
It's very limiting. And
you can actually get more flexible if you think about skeleton and learn about how to use your skeleton in space.
Which is what we do here at Move Therapies.
Yes, it is. And thirdly, this is a big concept, so I'll try to do it in like 30 seconds or less. As a dancer, I was told very much to isolate. So as an example, if I brought my arm up or arm across, I'm already doing it differently because I'm so used to it. It was all in the joint. It was an isolated movement. And I now don't isolate my movements. I think of myself as a whole body system. So as an example, if I wanted to take my arm up and behind myself as a dancer, or as in the stretching mode, I would have done that and isolated everything. Now I actually I actually start at my toe, but you can't see that, so I won't start there. I actually roll the pelvis. I let the sternum slide, take the whole rib cage over, and move the arm as a whole body unit.
It's not just the muscles.
It's not just yanking the muscle.
That are working. It's more of like, how can you use more of your body?
More of your body, more of your skeleton. And it comes back, but it is a whole body movement versus an isolated movement. And I mean, that's wonderful, because if I was doing an isolated movement, I would only get my hand so high, as you saw. But if I wanted to reach back there, I can now reach back there, and it's garnering me more range of motion, more flexibility. And I am just using my system as a whole versus an isolated movement.
It's having, like, rather than 2 people or 3 people in your army, now you have 100 or 1,000 people in your army.
Because you have a whole body moving. And it just garners you more flexibility, because I can now reach something that I could not reach before. So, and that's the point of flexibility. It's actually to functionalize it.
So maybe just reiterate, what were those 3 things again?
Okay. Pain. If you feel pain, stop.
Pain, stop.
Number 2, don't just think of it as stretching muscles. Think of yourself as a muscular and skeletal system. And what are you doing with your bones in order to help yourself become more flexible?
Muscular and skeleton.
And number 3, using the system as a whole instead of isolating and doing movements from an isolated position, and garnering a greater range of movement, which is what we're looking for. Why we want to become more flexible.
basically using your brain and your body.
Yeah, your thoughts, your
'Cause
awareness.
we
Yeah.
didn't really talk too much about the brain,
No,
but yeah.
I mean the pain. That's a perfect last sort of thing to bring up. The reason you're getting pain is the brain is telling you to stop. It's that simple. The only tool the brain has to tell you, oh, to worry, oh my gosh, my vehicle, the body that's going to hurt it. It sends pain. And then we ignore it because we hear no pain, no gain. And that gives some pain, more pain. And that gets worse when we ignore it. We take a pill, And so instead of starting that vicious circle that usually ends up in injury, just listen. The brain is sending you a pain message. Listen, respect it, and stop. And see if there's an easier way.
And really, when this is around us, if you have a little dog or something or an animal in your life and they're in pain, look at what they do. Do they just like, oh, my legs hurt, I'm going to go out and strengthen it?
I'm going to go more.
I was watching a couple this morning. Their dog was like, it looked like it wasn't moving very well, and it was going slowly, and it wasn't going for a very long distance. And if it got tired, it just stopped. Yeah. And then it said, if you want me to go anymore, pick me up. So these lessons are around us.
Yeah, they really are. And they do go back to the original question of flexibility, because we hope that most of us at our base want to become more flexible in order to do better daily functional movement.
We want to improve.
We want to improve. Yeah, better, not just
maintain.
Not just maintain.
It's okay
but
to
also,
maintain, but it's like idealistically, or in a magical world, it would be great if we could just continue to improve. And I think we can.
And I think we can.
Awesome. If you're interested in that kind of like whole spiel or whatever, and improving yourself, not just maintaining,
through
improving
flexibility, becoming more flexible, doing what you're doing, doing something that actually helps you become more flexible.
Yeah.
Not.
Check us out. I'll have our link below. There's testimonials. There's lots of good stuff. And we're going to do a third video, go deeper dive on flexibility.
Is it possible? That's it. That's all. It's Leanne Scott.
Dale Fear.
From Move Therapies in Osoyoos, British Columbia, Canada.
Bye.
Bye-bye.